I want people to really ask themselves, what what disturbs your spirit so much about the idea of a child also being a sexual being? What disturbs your spirit so much about the idea of a child watching a consensual act? What meaning are you attaching to that act?
I've had enough. This person already blocked me because I already made like 2 videos on them.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Because they're disturbing. This is by far the worst take that they have. By far. No, we should not be thinking of children as sexual beings. I'm sorry. Is that a wild take? I don't think that's a wild take. Are we okay here?
Of course it's not.
Besides the fact that this person has like an insane victim complex, this is a crazy take. Like, maybe people don't like you and you're being run off the internet because you're disturbing.
Right.
And no, it's not because you're queer. It's not because you're fat. It's not because you're black. It's because you're sick in the head. You're sick in the head. I don't give a if you were a paraplegic. That take is wild. Wild.
I don't know if this is like rage bait, but it's working, right? Because people are responding back to this content creator who I don't even want to give any credit to, this Tonya Oracle chick. I'm almost mad that I'm giving this energy. I think this is a boy who may be transitioning. Like, this is a man. This is disturbing on so many levels. This creator is talking about how he doesn't understand why people are so uncomfortable with children being sexual beings. Never mind that that's crazy to begin with. Here's what a lot of people, I think, don't understand. And I know people are going to say, hey, don't associate this with the LGBT. They're going to come out and say, oh, no, this has nothing to do with it. But this is what people don't understand, right? This is what people are afraid that all this tolerance will lead to. Keep in mind, guys, if you look at my channel, there is a reason why somebody like myself, who I identify as someone who's more conservative when it comes to a lot of topics, I disagree with people who participate in homosexuality. But if you look over my content, you will never find me actually speaking from the perspective of like hating homosexuals or hating trans people, because I don't, right? And it's always from the perspective of, okay, for people who don't value that, can we keep it out of the schools? You've chosen to live your life this way. Can we not go around towing the line of trying to brainwash the children? And I think when it comes to this, we're crossing that line again. Apart from me not hating people who disagree with me, here's another thing that I think a lot of people need to realize. I grew up in the church, right? And in the church, people will say a lot of things like, if we accept gay marriage and we accept all these things and we're tolerant, it's going to lead to them marrying children. And a lot of people looked at that and said, nah, you're going too far. You're going too far. But then you see things like terms like minor attracted children instead of the PDF document reference that we all know that I probably cannot get away with here on YouTube. But you see that and you're like, are we inching towards something here that is very disturbing? And I just want people to know that this right here is what people are afraid of. I remember growing up in the church, and I would see a lot of people like would hate gay people. It was very confusing because those same people would commit a lot of sins. You end up finding out like those pastors were smashing half of the congregation and were having kids outside of wedlock, people who were married, like disturbing things too. And you'd be like, hey, you know what? You're doing things here too that we can call you out. Why am I telling you guys all this and coming from that perspective? I'm coming from this perspective because I'm not trying to inflict my values and beliefs on anybody. I'm just trying to say we need to be careful when it comes to the way people are starting to talk about children and brainwash children. These are not adults who I believe, and that's where I personally draw the line, can make their own decisions and should be protected from weirdos like this. The Coffee Pot is backed by FathersHaveRights.com, the ultimate prenup prep guide for men who value marriage in our modern day. Future husbands, the divorce industry makes billions when men walk into a lawyer's office unprepared. Don't let the system profit from your ignorance. My step-by-step guide at FathersHaveRights.com, created with expert attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney, hands you the questions, checklists, and strategy to walk in 10 steps ahead, and it costs only a couple of dinner dates. Click the link pinned to the top of the comment section, secure your future, and join the hundreds of men preparing their marriages the right way.
This man right here is one of the most peculiar genres of people that I've ever come across. And I want to talk about them. This man's name is Oracle. And the reason that I find him so interesting is because he has some of the most questionable to downright concerning takes that I've ever seen on the internet. And that is what I want to focus on. With the first one being that he believes that should be accessible to children, but not just that. Stars should be making content geared towards children in order to educate them.
That's adult content that's blurred out there because you guys, I know this is sick stuff.
I think his most famous clip is this one.
If you are lighter than me, you are colorist. You are my oppressor, and you owe me reparations.
I'm not going to play the entire thing, but it's just him saying, if you are thinner than me, you owe me reparations. If your hair is different than mine, you owe me reparations. If you have more money than me, you owe me reparations. Just a long list of things. It's kind of like a good night to everybody except, but it's like, you owe me reparations. There is no except. Like, you just owe me shit. And I think this is the greatest example of a victim complex that I've ever seen in my life. This is a textbook example, damn near a cartoon caricature of what a victim complex looks like.
It's like the epitome of like, what's the end result of people who believe they're a victim to anything? And yes, I've seen people say this person might have an actual mental illness. I wouldn't put that past most of the people who can relate to this and are nodding their heads.
I'm not denying that this man is a very marginalized individual. No one is contesting that fact. But going your entire life having this mad at the world mentality and everybody owes him this because of his conditions does not really help anyone. In fact, it does a lot more harm than good. Another take that they had, which I thought was pretty crazy, was when he compared children in Palestine getting killed to him having to live in the United States. Now, I don't mean to get political here, but maybe, just maybe, watching your family members get slaughtered in front of you is a little bit more hard to go through than you sitting on your ass at home every day complaining on the internet. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm not your oppressor here. I'm just trying to work a thought exercise with you, right? Think with me. What the f are we doing? I could give you a 90-minute college lecture about the Oracle lore because there is a lot to unpack here. This person is just so intrinsic, unlike anything I've ever seen before. But if you want the summary, the SparkNotes summary here, I think this man is definitely in a harder situation than the average person. No one is going to argue with you on that. I also think he is a narcissist with a huge victim complex and a borderline.
By the way, if you didn't hear that last, he said a borderline, with the P word. At this point, we're going to check out some comments here. Of course, I'm curious to know. I know you guys are dying to see what people had to say. Top commenter says, lovely peaches walked so Oracle could run. Somebody's trying back and says, run is a strong word. Here's somebody else who says, go to jail with the monopoly their demand. Here's another person who says, check their hard drive immediately. Yeah, I agree. Another person who says, the idea of a child as an intimate being disturbs my whole body. There's no what about it. The entire idea. This person who says, come here, I just want to talk. Here's another person who says, FBI, police. Another person who says, check their hard drive. What's crazy about creators like this? Creators like this thrive on platforms like TikTok and probably would thrive on other platforms. Whereas somebody like myself who's trying to call out some of this stuff, and you never hear me say things like, I hate women, because I don't. You have feminists here who straight up use this type of language, say disturbing things like this. They thrive, right? They get all the attention. It's just a wild realization when you see what's being pushed. Somebody else here added, you owe me reparations. There's another person who says, it has to be rage bait. That's what I'm hoping. Another person says, what's up with him and children? Here's another person who says, I feel like they're clearly baiting. I don't know. Some of this seems like this person really believes some of this stuff.
Why is it not okay for people, and I'm specifically talking about youth, to engage in a sexual act or to view in a sexual act that is for pleasure? I would much rather, myself when I was 12, be engaging in a consensual act for pleasure, engaging in safe X, using protection, understanding my body, understanding how to engage in sexual acts safely, understanding porn media, having porn media literacy. I would rather have that than to be pushed into a marriage at an early age.
You.
Toya also said in another video that it's more likely that people who know and are related to children are going to assault them. Like, if you know that and you still think, like, if you think the only thing wrong with kids being assaulted is the fact that they didn't consent to it, that's insane. Anyone and everyone at any age can explore themselves in whatever capacity that is. However, the reason why children aren't allowed, I can't believe I'm saying this, the reason why children aren't allowed to be doing the things that you say they should be doing
Right.
is because they don't have fully developed brains and therefore don't understand the full capacity and breadth of the situations that they would be dealing with.
Okay. And I can't believe. I mean, listen. I hope I'm safe here talking about this, but I'll say this also. I'll be curious to know if the same people who disagree with her when it comes to this topic are okay with those same children deciding on permanent surgeries that change their genders. Because that's the same argument. If you can make the same argument for this, I think you can make the same argument for like permanent life changing decisions because their brains can't handle that. I think it all goes in the same pile. Why kids aren't allowed to drink, drive cars, right? Why there's an age consent for pretty much everything else. And I think there should be for those transitional gender affirming care services as well. What do you think?
I can't tell you how mad I got, how pissed off I am, because it's like, what do you mean? A child is not a sexual being. A child has no place in no sexual acts as a child. That is adult things. That is not something a child should partake in at all. Listen to what else was said.
What disturbs your spirit so much about the idea of a child watching a consensual act?
I should be watching anything that an adult does that is sexual. They are children. They should stay in a child's place. There's nothing that disturbs my spirit. It's the fact that people like you think that it's okay for a child to do those things just because of how you feel.
Why is it not okay for people, and I'm specifically talking about youth, to engage in a sexual act or to view in a sexual act that is for pleasure?
Children don't have consent at that age. They have no idea what they're watching.
Don't you guys see though? Like, don't people see that this is what people have been afraid of? This is what people have been afraid of when it comes to this conversation about tolerance. It's this right here. It's people pushing for this. And again, I hope that this is just a case of a very disturbed mental person here who is hopefully going to get kicked off the platform because this is disturbing.
Or what they're feeling or what they're looking at. So why would you want a child to watch something that you supposedly think is a consensual act, but to them could be very disturbing and make them feel uncomfortable?
I did not want to talk about Toya Oracle because I already know I'd be labeled an oppressor. One, I did not want to have this conversation because of that. Two, I didn't want to have the conversation because I feel like with Toya Oracle, if you call their name 3 times, they pop up like Beetlejuice. I don't want that type of negativity. Y'all seen what they do when they feel like somebody has wronged them? They make like a slew of videos back to back to back to back to back. I just did not want to invite that into my life, but it's like I'm trying not to, but y'all just keep putting on my FYB. I'm very confused and intrigued by this person. One, I don't support majority of what I've seen from them. Okay, first off, when they start talk about the community, it doesn't feel very community based. It's two, the conversation they had surrounding children. I don't even want to go into the topic because it actually makes me sick. Disgusting. 3, so I'm a little confused because they say they're against capitalism and they say they're against working and going to work, but that they always ask people to donate to their GoFundMe and whatever. And get your money how you get your money, but I'm confused then. So you're not against capitalism, you're not against working, you're just against working for yourself, because how else are people going to give you money? You know, that's what I get. It goes back to point 1 where it's like it's not very community, it's just very selfish. It's like, please keep them off of my FYP. I'm like trying to not watch videos, but like
that's that. Of course, a few more comments here. See what the people have to say. Top comment says point blank period. Toya Oracle is a narcissist. Somebody else here added, not you abusing him. LMFL. Somebody else here added, y'all in the comments don't need to misgender someone just because they're an a-hole. That reflects poorly on you, not Oracle. What side of the internet are we on, man? This is insane. This person responded back and says, nah, there is no force on earth or heaven above that will compel me to call that swamp creature a he. And so it seems like the gender police are also turning on each other and insulting each other by misgendering each other. Oh, another person who says he's a man and a creep. Here's somebody else who says she's gonna say you owe her reparations. Another person who says, I always think it says Toyota. Somebody else who says we all oppressors at this point. Yeah. The victim Olympics are full throttle. Disturbing to say the least. Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.